Thank you for listening to Footnotes, a Fellowship Mosaic podcast. This is a space for us to dig deeper into Scripture, what is happening in our community and culture, and continue the conversations we start on Saturday nights. We're excited to have you join us as we pursue truth, holiness, and redemption together.
Well, hey, welcome back to Footnotes. It's Nick here, and I am joined by my good friend, Eldon Watkins. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Good. Yeah, it's good to have you. It was good to have you on Saturday night reading the Scripture, you and your lovely wife, and part of what you did for us that I thought was so helpful was do your Celebrate Recovery intro and reintroduce our body to the ministry that I know has meant a lot to you, has been life-changing for me, Celebrate Recovery, that meets on Friday nights here at Fellowship. And so I thought what we would do today is just talk a little bit about that ministry, how God's used it in our lives, and kind of help for people for whom it isn't familiar, give them a little preview of what it's all about. So why CR? Why does it matter to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, let me reintroduce myself. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus. I struggle with sexual addiction, perfectionism, anger, and alcohol. And my name's Eldon.
Hey, Eldon.
Hey, it's so good to be here. And yeah, Celebrate Recovery is important to me because just a little backstory, just to kind of know my story a little bit and how I ended up here in the first place. I was born and raised into a Christian family, and I saw pornography for the first time when I was in third grade. And it was on a school computer, and I was at once intrigued, but also confused. Yeah. And I felt like it latched onto me in a very particular way. And by the time I got unrestricted access to the internet, I mean, it was a constant battle for me. That led to in college missing class because of it, and I even failed a class, likely due to that, and so it followed me all the way through college. And I was this kind of part-time worship leader, but then I was this also part-time like porn addict and partier, and I was living this double life. And why I was living the double life is because growing up, I heard the message over and over and over that anything less than perfect was damning. Gosh. And so if I sinned at all, I had lost my salvation. I needed to, ask for forgiveness immediately, and then I had no grace in my life, and I had no safe place, because when I would share with the people from my church, or even sometimes with my family, what I was met with was more of a just do better, try harder, pray about it, and if I didn't get better, I didn't have enough faith. That was the message that I internalized. And so in college, it was more of the same. I was with guys, I was confessing my sin and my struggle, and yet the conversation was always, well, how can we do better? But I didn't have a plan or a program or a system to walk me through steps to find hope and healing in that. So then fast forward, I get married, and like a lot of guys, I thought that marriage was going to fix my sexual addiction. Uh-huh. Yep. And it didn't, at least not immediately, and not in the way that I thought it would. And so I continued struggling with pornography, and even though there was about a 2-year stint in our marriage where I really wasn't struggling with pornography anymore, but during that time I was alone a lot, isolated a lot, and I started drinking pretty heavily. Drinking to the point of I was hiding bottles around our apartment. I was sometimes passed out drunk before dinner even, and my kind of D-Day for that was I led worship on a Sunday morning, and I was still just feeling terrible from the night before from the alcohol. And I don't know what the pastor said that morning, but whatever he said, God used it to wake me up to my problem. And I gave up alcohol in that moment, had a lot of sobriety after that, and even had a guy who walked with me through my first steps of recovery at that point, but I still wasn't in a program. And so I relapsed back into pornography after I gave up alcohol. And I just felt hopeless. Like, is this even possible to get well? And so, so I ended up coming to CR after a couple of years, and there was some church hurt that led me to CR because I felt like I was really honestly wanting to drink again. And I thought, yeah, I don't want to go back to that. It's like, and I was in a very dark place. I knew about Celebrate Recovery, and so I just showed up on a Friday night for the first time, broken, scared, not really sure what to do. And Celebrate Recovery has been a proven program in my life.
Yeah, man, there's so many things in your story that just resonate with mine. I mean, probably exposure to pornography about the same age, and then you get that access in your early teen years, and it's just that shame and that secrecy takes hold, and that back and forth of being in a church circle where I don't think anybody around me was like telling me any lies or wrong ideas. It's just I didn't have the tools. I just didn't know how to bring my pain into the light. I didn't have a process, and that hopeless feeling is just, gosh, it's crushing. It's crushing. I remember thinking the thought at one point, I guess this is just what life will always be like, and just going, I don't see a way out from here. And so Celebrate Recovery was what God used to bring me hope and to show me a path, because when, at least for me, the thing that I'm jumping forward a little bit here to get into the whole idea of a step study and a process, but there's the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. The work of healing, if you're trying to go, how do I get from A to B right now? It's so overwhelming. Yeah. And there's just it's so terrifying. It's crippling. And I remember early on in my step study, they kind of were laying out the process, and my leader said, hey, I immediately had questions about like step 9, and I'm like raising, hey, what? And he's like, hey, you know what? We're on step 1. All you need to work on is step 1. And there was something really freeing and powerful about knowing there's a lot of steps down the road that scare the living daylights out of me. I don't have to deal with that right now. Yeah. And that was something that was really freeing about the process of helping me take some baby steps at where I was. So maybe from there, take us through so what is the we're talking about the process. We're talking about step studies. We're talking about, tell me, for somebody, we use the phrase hurts, hang-ups, and habits. And really at that point, that's everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. That's everybody. And so I've never met someone who isn't stuck with something. And so we would say that's one of the kind of summary phrases I use. If you feel stuck with anything, Celebrate Recovery is a great place for you. So if someone's thinking, I kind of feel stuck, tell us what's the front door like? Like, what does getting into Celebrate Recovery look like? What does the process look like? How does God use that to help people? Yeah, that's right. If you want to come to Celebrate Recovery, we are there every Friday night. Even if the Friday falls on a holiday, we're there. And so for every Friday night at 7:00, right here out on Fellowship Rogers campus, and there's a meal beforehand. But if you're coming for the first time and you walk in the door of Celebrate Recovery, first of all, that is a big step. And for a lot of people, and maybe you listening, that would be very scary to take that walk into the room. But I'll tell you from personal experience, when you walk into Celebrate Recovery for the first time, you're going to experience a bunch of people who aren't hiding. They don't have a mask on. They're not pretending. They're just there, kind of fully open, ready to receive. And when you walk in, you're going to be met by a smiling face. Yeah. And then you come into the service, and it's going to feel pretty typical, like a church service at the start. Yep. I mean, we do worship just like we would on Saturday night. There's a Christ-centered teaching or a personal testimony from someone, and we alternate those.
And there are some readings to kind of like get ingrained in our minds, the Beatitudes and the principles, or the 12 steps. And we have a couple of prayers that we say. We do the Lord's Prayer and the Serenity Prayer, which are both beautiful. And it's really a guided process. But for the service itself, all you got to do is show up, and it's just like attending a typical church service.
Yeah. And one of the things that is like a crazy paradox to me, but I think it just speaks to healing, is Celebrate Recovery is simultaneously dealing with some of the heaviest things in life, and it is one of the environments of the most intense joy I've ever been around.
Oh, absolutely. We take the celebrate part very seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, we are seriously joyful about it.
Okay, so a couple of other structures that are there that I think are just even helpful for people to know what's happening. So you have the celebration service that happens at 7 o'clock on a Friday night. And then after that, there's something called Open Share.
That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happens at Open Share? What's that all about?
Yeah, the very first time you come, there is a next steps meeting for newcomers, and it kind of gets you oriented to what Open Share is going to be like. And so you don't have to walk into that Open Share for the very first time and share. You're going to have some orientation there, which is very helpful. But then once you've been through that next steps meeting, an Open Share time is probably kind of what you're picturing in your mind. You sit typically in a circle with people who are same gender and similar struggles as you. We have multiple different groups. I go to the sexual integrity group, but there's chemical dependency groups and codependency. There's even an A to Z group, which kind of catches everything. And so no matter what your hurt, hang up, or habit is, there's a group for you, absolutely. But you go into that group, sit around in the circle, and you have 5 uninterrupted minutes to just share what's on your heart. And so, you open it up, grateful believer, and say your name, and everybody greets you, and it's so kind and welcoming. And you get to share whatever's on your heart. And then at the end, everyone says, thank you for sharing. And I cannot tell you how many times that has been such a relief to me, because I've shared some of the deepest, hardest things in my life. And I sit across from these other men who look me in the eye and say, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And one of the things that is that's crazy helpful is there are some guidelines in place.
Yes.
In Celebrate Recovery that restrict, we call it crosstalk, that we're not commenting on what other people share. And man, if I know I've been in the situation several times where I have shared something and what was said next was very unhelpful. And Celebrate Recovery does a great job of creating safe boundaries so that that's not going to happen. And that's really powerful. I've actually incorporated when I lead any community group, I actually bring CR guidelines in.
That's great.
Because I'm just like, hey, this is just helpful.
Yes.
In life when we're listening to people share. I used to do it in FSM when I led student ministry groups. I brought CR guidelines in and said, hey, this is how we listen to people.
That's perfect.
And this is how we respond, because it's just so good for creating safety. And I think that's really powerful and important. Okay.
Yeah, and we really value safety in this ministry. One of the things you're going to hear multiple times when you come is who you see here, what you say here, and what you hear here stays here. Anonymity and confidentiality are basic requirements. So you can come to CR and nobody is going to be going around talking about it afterward. We have to remain anonymous and confidential for this to work.
Yep. It's really special. I mean, to the extent that I have a really good friend that I met in my step study, and I actually really chuckle to myself and enjoy watching him fumble when we're in public together and people ask him how he knows me, and he starts stumbling, and he's just a friend. I'm like, I enjoy it to myself, but people take it really seriously.
Yes. They
take the anonymity really seriously, because that's part of what creates safety.
Correct.
And that's an important part of it. Okay, so one other structure, and the one maybe we referred to the most but haven't directly talked about, is the step study. What is a step study, and where does that fit in the process?
Yeah, step study is about a year-long curriculum that goes through all 12 steps and 8 principles of the 8 principles of Celebrate Recovery. And there's a leader that guides you through it. There are these books that you get that take you through each lesson. And there are questions that probe to the heart and get you to think beyond that surface level hurt or thought that you might have, and it gets to the deeper roots of what's really driving the behavior. And that's where I have found the absolute most healing in my recovery journey. So I've been through a couple step studies now, and each one that I've gone through has kind of revealed something new and gotten me to an even healthier place. And it's again same gender, but they're not issue specific, and that is actually really cool because you start to hear all of these stories from these other people, and I have gained so much just by sitting and listening to other men share their journey, and I get a lot of encouragement from that.
Yeah, one of the things I love about that process is, and it took me a while to figure out this really was the case, like I'm in my step study, like no one is coaching me. No one's solving my problems for me. Nobody's fixing me. Like it's between me and the Lord to do the work, and they're creating the space for me to do it.
Right.
And the workbooks that you work through are so helpful for me. I have found, like, I don't know what all. I can talk to my therapist about this later. When you give me a blank page and say Nick journal, I'm just lost. But when I'm given some prompts, it really helps me to kind of unpack what's happening, and the prompts are just very good for helping you to get it on the page. And there is remarkable healing because there is a, the word we would use, even if we don't use it in Celebrate Recovery, is liturgy. There is a liturgy. There are truths that you repeat
Absolutely
over and over again, and there's scripture. There are scriptural truths about who God is and what He's doing, and there is this powerful thing that happens when you are in a safe group of people. You're repeating some truths about God and salvation and His grace and His forgiveness in your life, and you're being honest about your story.
Yeah.
Like those three come together, and that there's the saying, you said it Saturday night, it works if you work it, and it won't if you don't. There are going to be some moments for me in my step study, I'm like, where is this going? Mm-hmm. But there is something really beautiful about that process of being honest with the Lord and someone else, and then having some of those truths about who God is repeated, and just working through the process. It's pretty powerful. The one other part of the process that I think is worth naming is the idea of a sponsor. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's a sponsor, and how does that fit in the whole thing?
Yeah, a sponsor is really, it could just be, it's somebody who's same gender, who has been through a step study and is, we say, further down the road in recovery than you are. And that person is a guide to help you on your road to recovery. So, for example, my sponsor has been incredibly helpful when it came to the process of making amends and offering forgiveness to those who have hurt me. And so, before I make an amends or after I make an amends, I bring my sponsor into it, and he gives me insight on either how to make the amends or if I need to follow up for something. And he's really the guide to help me through each of the steps as I go through it.
And Celebrate Recovery as a program does an awesome job of training those sponsors.
Correct.
And helping them to have the discernment to walk through that whole process. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a ministry I believe deeply in, and I without hesitation say it is for everyone at Mosaic. Like I can't recommend it strongly enough, and I'm really thankful for you and the team and the work that you do to be used by the Lord in creating that space for people. It was there for me in a time in my life when I really needed it, and I hear that story again and again and again. I've not known anybody go that regretted it. I'm sure it happens, but that's not the story I hear. So hey, just one more reminder. Like the very next step, if somebody's curious and interested, what's their next step?
That's right. I mean, you can go to fellowshipcr.org to find out more information, or you could just show up on a Friday night at 7:00.
That's a great thing to do. Hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to put you on the spot. Yeah. Would you close us by saying a specific prayer for anyone right now who might be feeling that nudge, just that the Lord would give them strength and courage?
Yeah, absolutely. God, I know that CR works. I'm a satisfied customer, and I believe that CR works because you are the focus Jesus, like hope in you is the focus, because you're our only hope in life and in death and in our hurts and our hangups and our habits. You, Jesus, are our hope. And I'm really thankful for this serenity prayer. And so I'd like to pray that now. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. And so, Lord, would you make that true for people who need to come to see art, that they may surrender to you so that they may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen.